If you have a question for Dr. Donna, please do leave it on my page and I will be happy to answer the question for you. Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Talking with Dr. Donna. So sorry that we are a little bit late tonight. You know what? It's just the way it's been going this week. It's just been a crazy week. Technology is difficult. But thank you for hanging in there because this is part 2 of our spring planting, and I'm excited to try to have Tony Tomato on live. Now, we're here in California, and it's nice. It's chilly weather, but it's clear weather. But Tony Tomato lives in St. Louis, Missouri. And in St. Louis, it's storming, it's raining, it's got snow and like all kind of crazy weather conditions. So it's making our connection a little bit more challenging. So we've been working on it. We think we have a solution because I really want Tony Tomato to be on live with us tonight so that you can ask your questions, see how things went from last week to this week. If this is your first time joining us, thank you for being here. I am your host, Dr. Donna White Carey. And you are watching my show, Talking with Dr. Donna. And the purpose of this show is to revolutionize the way we think about health. I want us to really use the knowledge and information that you gather from this show to make your life better. We have a framework here at Talking with Dr. Donna, and we call it generational health. And each of you who watch this show are now a part of the Generational Health Network. Because we believe if we participate and think about these 4 pillars of health, if we focus in every single generation on these 4 pillars, I believe that we can end the cycle of premature death in our community. We focus in on spiritual health. We focus in on emotional and mental health. We focus in on physical health, and we focus in on our environmental health. We focus in all of those areas. I know we can end the cycle of premature death. This is a live show. So hello, everyone that's out there. Good evening. If you have a question, please make sure you leave it here in the chat. Remember that I need you to subscribe. I need you to like it. I need you to go over, if you're watching on Facebook, go on over to YouTube. If you hear anything tonight that helps you in your journey towards health, I would love if, as a token of appreciation, you subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell icon right next to it, and then you are aware of when we go live. Oh, well, when do you go live, Dr. Donna? We go live. You have an appointment every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. with the doctor. So thank you for being here. Of course, you saw all my handles. Make sure you keep up with me during the week. Let me know what you're doing, how things are going for you at My Dr. Donna on Facebook and Instagram, and also on Twitter. So make sure that you don't just talk to me on our appointment days, but let's chat in between as well. All right, so couple of things. Number 1, we want to say Happy Doctor's Day. So close. Happy Doctor's Day, National Doctor's Day. Yesterday, March the 30th, is National Doctor's Day. You may not have known that. So I'm letting you know today on the 31st that you should say thank you to your doctors. Remember, I think your doctors are part of your dream team. So make sure you give a shout out to your doctor and say thank you for taking good care of me. Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you for making sure that I'm healthy. So I want to say to all of my colleagues out there, happy National Doctor's Day. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being present and being there to help each and every person that you do. So thank you to all of the doctors out there on National Doctors Day. Now that's medical doctors. Maybe there's other doctors that have another day, but March 30th is Medical Doctors Day. So happy Doctors Day. All right, now I want to make sure this is the final day of March. And that means that this closes out our Women's History Month. So happy Women's History Month. And I could not possibly do Women's History Month without giving a shout out to my maternal lineage, okay? So tonight, I am giving honor to two very important women in my life to shout out for Women's History Month. First, I'm going to give a shout out to my maternal grandmother, Cloeva Parker. There she is. Isn't she sharp? Now you know where Dr. Donna gets it from. This is my maternal grandmother, who was a missionary. And which is quite funny when I think about it, because I remember growing up and going to visit her in Sacramento, and she had a radio show at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. And so my big brother Tyrone and I would share her couch, in the living room. And so we would sleep in the living room, and my grandmother would be up at 6 o'clock in the morning shouting, "Hallelujah, thank you, Jesus," on her radio show. And we would be so mad because it's Saturday morning, and we're like, why is she awake? Yelling. But thinking about, wow, back then, my grandmother having her own show, and here I am fast forwarding today with my own show. My grandmother, there you can see she was sighted, but she had diabetes, and her diabetes became so advanced she didn't actually know that she was a diabetic until one day she started to get on a bus and couldn't see. She lost her sight because of diabetes. But what is amazing about her is that she continued to cook. I mean, she could fry chicken like the best with the best of them. And she continued to do her work. She never allowed her blindness to stop her. She persevered. She did everything. She went everywhere, and nothing stopped her. And I think that is passed down. My can-do spirit was passed down to my mom, which then passed it down to me, starting with my grandmother, who, by the way, shares a birthday with my son. They're born on the same day, September 29th. So the second woman I want to give a shout out to for Women's History Month, you guys bear with me today. I know we're going to get to Tony Tomato, but I wanted to just give these shout outs. Women's History Month is to my mother. Oh, look at Tony Tomato. That's my mother, my brother Tony, and my brother Tyrone, and that's me, the little baby, right there on her lap. I want to shout out my mom, Donna Mae Scott White, who is a fierce, God-fearing woman who was amazing, who really taught us that there is nothing that we can't do. If we put our minds to it, we can do it. She did not allow us to have I can't in our spirits. And so if you talk to me or my brothers, there is no I can't. That is not a part of our vocabulary. And that spirit definitely comes from my mom. My father passed away when I was like 4 years old. My mom never remarried. She raised my two brothers and myself. And I think we turned out pretty good. So I want to make sure to give a Women's History Month shout out to my maternal grandmother, Cloeva Parker, and to my mother, Donna Mae Scott White. May they both rest in peace. I love you. Thank you for being such strong women that you created another strong woman. And I hope to continue that legacy with my daughter and continuing on. All right, so thank you for bearing with me to allow me to celebrate Women's History Month. I hope that this month you have been celebrating women who have been important to you, whether they were your mentors, whether they were your family members, that you just celebrated a woman this month. So that's it for Women's History Month, all right? So let's get to our show because I know you guys are all out there. I see y'all. I see y'all. You're waiting for Tony Tomato. Are we going to be good? We're going to try it. We're going to try it. So last week we did planting part 1. And Tony Tomato told us what to go buy, what things we needed to do, how we needed to prepare to plant things for the spring. Now, I'm hoping that you had an opportunity to go out and try your hand on some planting so that you can try to ask some questions to Tony Tomato today to help you get these things planted and to sort of maybe troubleshoot some things that might have gone wrong for you during this week. So without further ado, now remember, we're going to do a little bit of a makeshift here because it's storming and we're hoping that his internet connection holds up. So let's see, let's bring on Tony Tomato. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Woo! We did it. Can you guys hear him out there? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you can hear him.
Okay, I'm going to drop the one line, Donna.
Okay. Are you there? Say something. Oh, we dropped you. We dropped your volume, your sound. You can hear. Can you hear him now? No. I think these are old thumbs up. Yes, there's a little feedback. Okay, Tony Tomato, you have to call in again. Call my phone. I think if you mute the line. Okay, so let's review a little bit. So if now no one can hear you. Okay, so I want to review just a little bit while we're getting Tony reconnected. I hear you. Everybody's out there can't hear him. It's, you know, technology is great and then it's not so great. So bear with us.
I hear you, and your phone is connected. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes,
Yes,
we can hear you. Okay.
Tomato, 2 tomatoes.
I think maybe if you mute.
He's going to have to turn off his your stream on his end.
Oh, okay. Okay, can you guys tell him say something? Tell him to mute the stream. All right, can't hear him. All right, so I want just to go back. Last week, Donnell, can you put up the slide? We talked a couple of things about microgreens, right? We talked about how to plant microgreens. We talked about, he showed the 3 black containers of how you fill it with dirt, lay out the seeds, and then that's how you're starting. We've talked a little bit about how to grow in large planters, right? Instead of filling that entire planter with a bunch of dirt, instead you put some water bottles at the bottom that will help to fill the containers, and then you add some dirt, and then you add your soil, and then you add your seeds, right? So anybody try that last week? Let's see. Did anybody did anyone go out to get those materials? Let me see you in the chat if you got those materials last week. No. Okay. No one's responding. All right. While we attempt to get Tony Tomato up, Brother Elwood, can you switch to do the need to know slides? Let's do what we need to know for this week. Okay. All right. Someone got the soil and the seeds, but not the containers. So Donnell, we're going to do the need to knows. Okay. Okay? And then we're going to get Tony Tomato. Don't fret. Don't worry. We're going to work it out because we got really smart people working back here. But in the meantime, let's talk about what you need to know for this week. This is really important. This is Dr. Donna's need to know. I want you to take note of these things. Number 1, you may or may not have heard that booster shots have been approved again. So the FDA authorized a second booster of either Pfizer or Moderna. But they didn't authorize it for everyone. And The reason that they authorized it in the first place is because during the Omicron surge, we recognized that if you were vaccinated, you were 21 times less likely to die than if you didn't have the vaccine at all, okay? And you were 7 times less likely to be hospitalized than if you didn't have the vaccine at all. So we saw, because of the low rates of death and the lower rates of hospitalizations in the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, that the protection worked. The protection are our vaccines. What they've also determined is that these vaccines, these boosters, are somewhere between 4 to 6 months in terms of their ability to really protect you maximally. Not at all, but just maximally. And so here we are out from having our first booster, and we are at this moment where the FDA says, okay, if you are immunocompromised, that means if you have an immune disorder, or it's not, your immune system is not working as well as someone who doesn't have an immune issue, right? And that immune issue can be from disease, or it could be from medications that you're taking. So if you are in the category of being immunocompromised, then you have been approved to get this second booster. Also, if you are over 50, yay! If you're over 50, you also have been authorized to get a booster. And why these two populations, over 50 or immune compromised, is because we're at higher risk of developing disease, and if you get COVID, from getting really sick from COVID. So where are we going with these boosters? How many booster shots are we going to need? How often are we going to need them? And for how long are we going to need them? And I know you're probably asking all of those questions, and unfortunately, we don't have the answer. So I can't tell you if we're going to need a third booster or a fourth booster or a fifth booster. I can tell you that making sure that you are optimally protected has been saving lives and saving you from hospitalization. Now, my question is, and time will tell, is this the right time to go get your second booster if you're not in an immunocompromised state? And the reason I'm asking that question is, if you look at the data about where we are in our disease, we know that we can, we're at a low in our numbers around COVID. We're at a low in terms of hospital rates. We're at our low in terms of infection. And so maybe if we're only doing this for 4 to 6 months, maybe getting the booster right now when the cases are low is not the right idea. Maybe we should wait a couple of months until we get into the late summer, early fall, when we anticipate another surge happening. Maybe that's when we should get the booster. Now, I'm not telling you which way to go. These are questions that I have for myself, and I'm going to continue to research to see when is the best time for us to get the second booster so that we are as maximally protected into the fall and the winter season as possible when we know that there may be another surge. So let's think about that, and I think we've got Tony Tomato, right? Let's try again. All right, Brother Tony, you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Woo! Yes, I can hear you and me. Welcome, Tony. Are you there? Can you hear it, Tony?
I'm having a hard time. I don't hear you.
Oh, wow. Now we can hear you so well, and you can't hear us.
Yeah. Sorry, Donna.
Okay, so just start talking about planting and the questions that I gave you. Can you hear? Can you tell him in the chat? to answer the questions. So the last week you all had questions, and of course you weren't able to ask him those questions because we weren't live. But this week we're live, and I am going to send him those questions. So I'm going to have him answer the questions that some of you left in the chat last week. And if you have any questions tonight, let me know. Put it here in the chat, and we can type him your questions, and since we can hear him, he can answer our questions. Yes, I'm saying you need another booster.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear you, but I don't hear anything else.
If you can hear me, answer those questions that I sent you that were from the chat last week.
I don't hear it. Can you hear me, Donna? Shake your head if you can. Oh.
I can hear you.
I cannot hear you, so I'm sorry.
Check. That's okay. Oh, you can't hear me. Check the chat. All right. Let's do our second need to know, and let's get him to answer those questions. Okay. Our second need to know, what you need to know this week. So there have, in this pandemic, a couple of things have happened. You know that we've had many deaths from coronavirus. And what those deaths have done, though, is to leave a number of our children orphaned. There are over 200,000 children, most of them under the age of 13, who have lost a caregiver during the pandemic. That's over 200,000 of our children who now, in addition to dealing with the pandemic and dealing with the issues associated with the actual health of the pandemic, are now also attempting to take care of themselves or older kids trying to take care of younger kids. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because as we move into our new normal, I want you to think about these children. And I want you to think about your community, and I want you to look around, and I want you to pay attention to see if there is a family around you who may have lost a caregiver. And I want you to think about how you can assist that family in any way possible, because it is devastating to have lost a loved one, but particularly as a child, to have lost a loved one. And we're a part of a network, right? We are a generational health network. That means that we are going to connect and help each other. So I'm encouraging you, as you are going back to your normal, that you pay attention to communities around you and to people around you, and hope that you are able to provide some sort of support to a family who may have lost a caregiver, and now the children are grappling with that loss plus the loss of that loved one. Okay? I know, it's really sad. My team wants me to try again. So let's try again to see if we can get Tony Tomato.
Am I back, Donna? Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
We've got it. Okay. All right.
Woohoo! All right. Yay, team.
I can barely hear you though. Okay. All right,
okay.
So you have to speak up. Okay.
Okay. So, Tony, I sent you questions from the chat from last week.
Yes, you did. Okay. Would you repeat them to me, please?
Okay. So, Donnell, can I have my phone? I don't remember them. The first question was the difference between
I lost you. You disappeared.
Oh, no. Hydroponics, can you hear me?
Calling back in.
We got action. We had it, folks.
All right. repeat the question, please.
So the question was, what's the difference between hydroponics and soil? Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hydroponics and soil.
Okay.
The difference.
Yeah, so hydroponic basically is you're using water. There's a continual flow of water to the plants. The medium that I showed you was based with soil. There are some different types of mats. Matter of fact, if you can envision one of the old school swamp coolers that has this really matty material, that's really what the hydroponic is really about. And so it's just what I have found, especially with growing microgreens, if you have the full hydroponic setup, you will have some success, but they just continually have to have water that's coming to them. The soil, I like it because you saturate the soil once, you come back and check it in a couple of days, and if you need to add more water to it, you do so. If not, go ahead. So if you're, I mean, there's other people that do really good with hydroponic towers. I see a lot of lettuce that's being grown. Sometimes there's some cucumbers that are there, but over there. So then I see another question. Will the bottles break down at the bottom? We're only looking at a 6 to 8 week, maybe 12-week growth period. So there's not going to be a whole lot of decomposure that's going to happen in the plastic bottle at that time. Okay. And again, the plastic you can use wood or you can use leaves. I just wanted to show you a few different alternatives to reduce some of your expenses on soil. Because I noticed that just one of those bags alone, just the topsoil is going to cost you almost $3. And if you're getting some that has some minerals in it, you could be paying $5. And then again, if you put your pot in an area you know it's going to be stationary there, then just use the soil. You don't have to worry about moving it. But if you're trying to move it around from inside the shade or whatever, then it could break your back trying to carry something that heavy. Okay.
All right, there's another question I just sent to you from the chat.
Question is, can you use something other than black trays to grow seeds? Absolutely. I mean, I've seen people use glasses. I've seen them use coffee cans. I've seen them use, it's just anything that's going to hold it. But this is just what we use from a professional standpoint. And, these trays, they seem to be pretty much everywhere around. I mean, I've seen them at 3 different types of hardware stores. So it's not a problem locating them, or you can even go online and order them. Just remember, it's a 10 by 20, black tray. And again, the key thing to remember there is that you need 2 trays, one tray that has perforated holes in it so that the water seeps out and it doesn't, so that your seeds just aren't sitting there in a bed of water like a lake. Otherwise, they'll drown. Okay?
Okay. Keep your questions coming.
When I use rocks, the plants die. Rocks are bad. No, they're not bad because it's, the rocks basically are like it's a filter for you, basically, is what happens on that. The challenge with the rocks is that they're heavy. Okay? So that's why I would probably avoid using the rocks. Okay?
So another question that was here. Oh, you can't hear me. Any other questions? I'm giving you the opportunity, you guys, to ask questions around planting, what you should be planting right now during this season, how you plant, what you should use to plant. Any of yours, I always laugh that I can kill any plant anytime. So if you don't have a green thumb like me, what are some of the questions you may have? And I'm going to sit here. I'm sitting to. Okay.
Any advice for planting? I know we had some really crazy weather today, and I did get a chance to send you a few different videos or another images this afternoon. Did you get a chance to get those loaded up to the screen? So I see another question just came up, Donna, if you can hear me. It says, how deep should the seeds be planted? Surprisingly enough, you just basically take a look at the seed, and usually no more than 2 to 3 inches is required. I mean, when I say inches, just 2 to 3 size of the actual seed is all you use for a depth. Okay, like those sunflower seeds that you're looking at in that video, I just laid them right on top of the dirt. And then I just took a really light layer and just coated the sunflower seeds with it, and that's all you need. Just as long as some dirt is touching them. So, one of the things that we talked about last week were the benefits and the use of the microgreens. Basically the microgreens they're just a baby plant of everything. In this case, we're looking at from the left to the right, radish, and then a cabbage. And so once that plant comes to the size of an inch or larger, you can start to harvest it and add it to different soups. You can add it to salads. You can put it on. You can use it in place of lettuce. And I mean, you'll really like the microgreens because they're loaded with a lot of nutrients and flavor. And I mean, you'll know a radish when you bit into it. And if you're eating the sunflower seeds, you'll know that tastes just like it because it is the baby plant. So, and there's just so many benefits associated with it. Okay. So I know this year question came about, what about the seedlings and how much space should you leave from the bottom of the pot? When you look at those trays that I put in there, it's probably a half of an inch of dirt that I have in that tray, and that's it. And again, there you're looking at there's 3 different cups of just soil, and I'll just level that out and just lay the seeds right on top. Or actually, I'll level that out, and then I'll wet it, and then I'll lay the seeds on top of it, and then I'll put another layer of light dirt on top of it, and then I'll cover those trays up and let them germinate, let them sit just like in that enclosed container, like a coffin, for 3 to 4 days until those seeds start to sprout, or the term is germinate. And once they've germinated, we're there. Now, it's really interesting. You're looking at some trays that I planted during our show, and now all of those. So in each one of those little holes there, I put 2 to 3 different seeds, because sometimes seeds are bad; they just won't germinate. But you always err on the side of caution, right? And so I've already loaded up each one of those holes with 3, 4, whatever falls out of my hands, and I wet it and I cover it. And this week I started seeing little baby plants, little baby cilantro, and little baby basil start to appear. And then just right before the show, I transplanted those baby seeds on over. And so right now is the time to get out and start. I mean, here in Missouri, we can't plant really anything for the outside yet, unless it's cold crops, because it's just cold. It was 32 degrees a day this afternoon. I was driving home and it was snowing. So I'm going to wait until about the 20th of April before I really start putting things in the ground. I mean, so for tomato plants, it's a perfect time to start them in little containers like this. And then in another 3 or 4 weeks, they'll start to sprout up. And as they start to get taller, then I will transplant them into a larger pot. And then I'll transplant them to another pot, and then eventually into the field. But if you're trying to use it for home, so I wanted to have, because we love cilantro in this house, we love basil in this house, and but we just don't have the warmth outside for me to start planting inside like the potted plant that you see. But I just have a small little container that you would find at a hardware store. I have dirt inside of that, and I transplanted those seeds that you saw that are starting to sprout, the young plants, I planted into a larger container, and I just keep it moist, and it will continue to grow. Yeah, so there's mint. There's mint that we drink a lot of mint juleps in this area here, Moscow mules. So we need lots of mint for that.
Okay, any other questions? Well, again, if you don't have any questions, we'll move to talking about, so I'm going to give you last chance. Ask some questions for Tony Tomato. Any advice on introducing kids to gardening? Hold Hold on, hold on.
So can you still hear me, Donna? All right, so I see Annette has a question here. Any advice on introducing kids to gardening? The microgreens are just a fantastic way to get the kids instructed. Matter of fact, you can just go out and buy some, just like a little seed package, and just get a little mason jar, put dirt inside of that mason jar, and then throw the seeds inside of it, and then just water it. And then within 5 to 7 days, you'll start to see the plants start to grow. And then so that's how you would introduce children into growing. And yeah, just like that. And those little basic trays right there, you can take, any of these little micro seeds. You're looking for cabbage, you're looking for basil, you're looking for radish, you're looking for cilantro. There's several different types of radishes that are out there. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
All
We
right.
can talk about that. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. There is one last question in the chat from Elisita.
So you want me to tell my story? I can't really hear you, but I'll give it a shot here. So.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
So, if you have any other questions for Tony Tomato, leave them in the chat and I will make sure to get them to him and then he will answer those questions, okay? I'm so sorry, you guys, about the technical difficulties, but we're going to figure this out and we're going to make sure we'll bring him back another time to see if you have any questions. But continue to do your planting and moving forward so that you can have some fresh vegetables and herbs right outside your backyard and right outside your door. So let's talk about the other thing. This month, March is a busy month. It's Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. And we've been talking about colorectal cancer. And the reason we've been talking about it is because the number 2 cause of death across genders, across races is cancer, right? Number 1, heart disease, right? Aunt Bella won that question last week. Number 2, cancer. Of cancers, colorectal cancer is the 3rd leading cause of death from cancer. So this month, we've been talking about what's your screening, why you should go get screening, what you should do to get screened. We've participated in our colorectal cancer colon that we had out here last week. We've been talking about fit tests and screenings. And we've been talking about making sure that people know what they're supposed to be doing. So if you haven't watched our episodes, I encourage you to watch the episode with Dr. Ralph Peterson, where we talked about screenings for colorectal cancer, and then my guest, Dr. Kim Rhodes, who also talked about, who's an ex-colorectal cancer surgeon, who talked about screening and questions to ask when you're going into surgery, should you be diagnosed, and more importantly, this campaign that she currently has about colorectal cancer being preventable, being treatable, and being beatable. So as you know, last week, if you could bring Tony Tomato back, last week Tony Tomato wasn't able to be live because he had his colonoscopy. And so I wanted to just bring him on as a man because we often hear it about females. But I want to bring Tony Tomato back to talk about his experience with the colonoscopy and the findings. So go ahead, Tony Tomato.
Yeah, so as you have been promoting, this month is the month that we need to get our colonoscopies or colonoscopies. And 10 years ago, I did have my first one, and I didn't have any problems at all. I walked right in, after you go through the process of getting prepped up for it. And then with this trip, I walked in thinking that everything was going to be fine. I think I have a pretty healthy diet and everything. And, you go in, they put you to sleep. It's a nice, restful sleep. And then next thing you know, you're back in the room and they're waking you up. And then the doctor comes in and he says, oh, by the way, I just want to let you know that you had 2 polyps that we had to remove. One was 28 millimeters. And, he said, it had a 40% chance of it being cancerous. And that was just really mind-blowing. And, when I talked to Donna last Thursday about this, during the show, it didn't really hit me until later that evening that wow, just think, if I did not make that time and go through the prep to get checked out, we might be having a different conversation in 3 years, because I changed that scheduled colonoscopy 3 times during the last year. I was actually scheduled back in October, and here it is in April or March when I finally got it done. So since that day, all I've been talking to every male or person that I run into is that, have you been screened? This is something that can save your life. And I'm glad I listened to what my sister has told me, and I'm glad everything has worked out great. And what was really strange is that this surgery is just so, it's not a problem at all. It's just a matter of just going through the prep. And then once it's done, just be able to catch it, and to know that, hey, we did something that was preventative, and we potentially caught something that could have really got away, and we'd be having a different story that we're talking about. So for all of you out there that are over the age of 35, get screened, get the fit screening, get that test, and save your life. Or as the doctor would say, save your butt.
Exactly. Thank you, Tony. And so I want you to amplify this. Amplify it. You guys come and you watch every week, you get information, and this week, starting today, we're going to talk about what I want you to go out and amplify. Donnell, can you put the amplify up?
3 years.
Yeah, I want you to amplify this message, okay? This message is, I want you to think about the people in your life who are over the age of 45. And I want you to amplify the screening for colorectal cancer, okay? It's one of those killers that you may not even know that you have a problem until it's too late. We don't want that to happen. Age 45 is the new age of colonoscopy screening, not 50, 45, okay? So if you have any 45-year-olds, I want you to start banging on their doors, calling them, texting them, whatever you need to do to tell them it's time for them to get screened, because we want to make sure that we don't have any deaths from a treatable, beatable, and preventable disease. Okay? All right. Amplify. And if you missed those, again, those two topics that we've had this month, if you've missed those two talks by Dr. Ralph Peterson and Dr. Kim Rhodes, I encourage you to go back to my episodes this month, watch it, learn, listen, amplify the message, and let's make sure everybody gets screened. All right? Thank you. Okay, so as you know, every single month we have a food of the month. So we have had a food of the month this month, which has been broccoli. And you guys didn't like broccoli. So give me some suggestions of what foods you'd like to know more about, you'd like to incorporate in your diet, and let's get it out there. We had so many different ways in which we can have broccoli. We know that the reason we chose broccoli as our food of the month this month is because broccoli is healthy for your gut. And for Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, we want you to eat foods that are going to be healthy for your gut. That's broccoli. So I want you all to let me know, what do you want to have as our food of the month? Give me some interesting food ideas that maybe not everybody is eating, so that we can get it out, let people try some new foods to incorporate in your diet. Again, it's not just to eat for this month, but to incorporate it in your diet. So next week, we're going to come back with the new food of the month, and I'm praying and hoping that you continue to incorporate all the foods we've had previously, and then start to incorporate our new food for the month of April. Thank you, Melanie. You like broccoli. Good. All right. Well, that ends another episode of Talking with Dr. Donna. Thank you for hanging in there with all of our technological difficulties. Thank you, Tony Tomato, for coming on, even in the midst of a storm in St. Louis. We really appreciate it. I hope that you guys are out there going to be planting and trying to plant this month. And, I'm going to be out there, and I know my family's going to be like, oh, here she goes again. She's going to go kill some more plants. But I swear, this time I'm going to do it. I'm going to be better. Again, you have an appointment with your doctor, the doctor, every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Make sure if you have not already subscribed that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so that you know when we go live. Thank you again. Remember, we are part of a generational health network. That means that I need you to pay attention to not just your generation, but to every generation around you, focusing on our 4 pillars of health. If you have not already had your vaccine, we have a vaccine clinic here at True-Vine Ministries tomorrow from 12 to 4 p.m. We will be doing your original doses if you've never been vaccinated. And we will be able to give booster shots. So if you are in that category that we talked about, immunocompromised or over the age of 50 and you want to get your second booster, come on down tomorrow from 12 to 4. You're able to get the vaccine here at 896 Isabella Street in Oakland. All right. Also, in terms of our mental health, right, that's one of our 4 pillars, mental health. We had a really significant, scary, traumatic event that occurred right outside of the studio, right outside of the church earlier this week, and it was extremely traumatic. There was a shootout driving down this street. Anyone could have been outside. It was in the middle of the day, around 1 in the afternoon, and 2 cars driving down the street shooting at each other. Very traumatic for the community, for the people who work around here, for the people who live around here. And so we're offering some grief support. So Monday and Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday and Tuesday, you can come, drop in, no appointment necessary. If you'd like to speak to a counselor around feeling anxious and being stressed about witnessing the shootout, hearing about the shootout, seeing the shootout, and maybe not just the one here in West Oakland, maybe in your community, in your neighborhood. So this is an important opportunity for you to come and start that process of getting some help and working through your trauma and your anxiety. Here, Monday and Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., okay? Take care of yourself, take care of your family. No shame in needing someone to talk to, okay? Let's take care of each other. We are all in this together. Until we see each other again next week, take care of yourselves. Love you guys. If you have a question for Dr. Donna, please do leave it on my page and I will be happy to answer the question for you.